Hello and welcome. Day 10 to 15 of the 21-day compassion course. It's wonderful to have you on. Thank you so much again for your time. Appreciate it's a Sunday, both early and late. So thank you. Thank you so much. So how are you all? And I guess importantly, I'm hoping that you can hear me okay wherever you are, and apologies if the internet drops in and out again. It tends to, for whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure, just seems to want to drop out every now and again. But how are you all? How are you finding it? How are you finding this little 21 days of focus? You enjoying it? Yeah, I hope it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, if this is your first session today, awesome and welcome. It's just wonderful having you on, in all honesty. In fact, I love talking about compassion, as you probably have found out so far. So today, compassion for the unknown, or compassion for those that we don't know. A wonderful and interesting topic, and it can be incredibly transformative for our own practice when we begin to recognize this sort of the level of interdependence of us as humans. But we're going to start with a little meditation, if that's okay. So what I want you to do, wherever you are, getting yourself comfortable, it's a breathing compassion practice, very similar to what we did right at the start. But this is about sort of cultivating this kindness for others now, so bringing it in and sharing it on. So wherever you are, getting yourself comfortable. If you want to lie or sit down, totally up to you. A little practice in compassion. So what I want you to do, I just want you to bring some attention into the body. And as you're bringing that attention in, is this sort of sense of being. People say a lot of the time, this being, and bringing that attention in, this sort of embodiment into our practice. And that's what we're going to do right now. Just bring all that attention into ourselves. And when we do that, just allowing our eyes to close if we want to. And we're just going to spend a few moments just sort of resting in the body, or this idea of the embodiment, and bringing our attention with the more physical sensations, feeling our legs underneath us, feeling maybe our sit bones if we're sitting. If we're lying down, maybe we can feel our head on the pillow, our shoulders against the cushions or the bed, or wherever you are, the yoga mat. And all these sensations can't be experienced anywhere else. They can only be experienced in this moment. And that's what we're doing. We're dragging it into right now and getting a sense of how we're thinking and feeling. And only it may be the first time today. If you're in Australia, it may have been a little bit longer than those that are just sort of waking up in the UK. And it's always a wonderful time as we start that embodiment process, just asking a question, like asking, how am I feeling right now? What am I noticing? What am I still carrying? Maybe I'm feeling calm and relaxed, and that's wonderful. Maybe there's a sense of something that's there. What am I feeling into right now? And then just gently guiding some of that awareness, some of that attention onto the breath. And just noticing the movement of our breath, the flow of our breath. Watching the breath as it rises and falls. Now, it may be just one particular sensation that we become aware of, but or maybe it includes the whole breath, from all the ways it flows in and the stomach sort of expands and contracts and the air flows back out again. A very natural, automatic movement. Don't really need to do anything. The breath just does it all on its own, and we just get this opportunity to rest and watch. And just as we've done in the past, maybe you can imagine all around you being the color of kindness, the color of compassion, and you're just doing your best. Maybe all around you, just imagining sort of this color that you associate with kindness. Now, if you're not great at visualizing, you're just imagining that every time you breathe in, you can breathe compassion into the body. Everything that's around us is an opportunity for compassion, and that we can literally breathe that kindness into the body. And I want you just to start imagine doing that now, just starting imagining every time we can breathe in, we can breathe this kindness all the way down into our heart. It's almost like the heart can begin to breathe. And if you've been practicing this every day, it almost sometimes feels like the heart breathes it. It almost like when I do this practice in particular, it feels like this sort of crispness, this sort of cool, this chill feeling that almost like the heart just begins to breathe almost like it doesn't go down through the nose and mouth. It almost feels like it just goes straight through our chest into our heart. For those that haven't been doing much of it, then don't try and create that sensation. This is just a normal sort of thing that happens and evolves all on its own with regular practice. As this meditation begins to change, it begins to sort of move. It's very fluid. And all you're trying to do now is just imagine breathing it in through your nose and breathing it into your heart. And that's all we're trying to do. No requirement to feel anything, no requirement to not feel anything. What we're trying to do is just imagining breathing kindness into our heart. And as you're breathing this in, I just want you to think about what you feel you need right now. And maybe right now you're okay. And so you can just repeat the word compassion in your thoughts as you're breathing in. But maybe you've got a tough week coming up. You're going to need some strength. Or that you're a little jaded this morning, a little tired and just needing some energy, or some joy, some compassion or kindness, whatever it is. I just want you, as you breathe in, you just say this word in your thoughts, almost like you can lace that breath with kindness, and breathe what you feel you need directly into your heart. And anytime you're noticing your mind wandering, you're just bringing that attention back into the body again, back into the heart, back into the breath. And imagine breathing that color in, reminding yourself kindness, strength, compassion, joy, health, whatever it is. Just breathing it directly into your heart over and over, as often as we can. Just reminding ourselves often. And then again, what I want you to do, I just want you to just continue to breathe in this way. Breathe the kindness into our heart. As you're doing this, I just want you to bring to mind someone that you know. It can be close, it can be distant, but just someone that you know at the moment that's struggling with something. It could be the same as you or totally different. I just want you to imagine them being here with you. Now, when I do this practice, I always imagine them almost sat in front of me. Well, I've heard people in the past have sort of imagined them sort of sat next to them and just putting their arm around them. But I like to imagine like this compassion that I've cultivated for myself just begins to sort of shoot out from my chest and just connects with this other person that's suffering. I just want you to imagine sharing this strength with them, sharing this compassion, sharing this joy, warmth, whatever it is. And we just, instead of breathing in and saying the word, we just change it. And as we breathe out, we offer that compassion as we breathe out, just sending and lacing that beam, that light, or however you're connecting with this person, sending that compassion towards them. You don't need to worry whether they receive it or not. It's the intention that's most important. And so every time you breathe out, maybe they need some strength right now, whatever it is, you're breathing out and saying strength. And just sending this strength, sending whatever it is, joy, compassion, happiness, towards this person that needs it right now, sharing this kindness with them. And the last thing we do, just look at them and just see that this kindness has been received. Maybe they smile, say thank you. And then this person just disappears from your mind. And there is you, just relaxed and calm, content, and just watching the movement of your breath again. And that's all we're going to do to finish, is just rest and watch this movement, this constant changing nature of breath. Just rest, relax, and notice. And in your own time, when you're ready, just allowing your eyes to open. Okay, So if you enjoyed that little practice, compassion is such a wonderful gift for yourselves and for other people as well. And, you know, some people get hung up on whether or not the other person actually received it, but, the warmth that you get from it. And there is some science to support this practice in terms of whether or not they receive it or not. There is some science there. There was a wonderful bit of research on this Tibetan monk, and they had him sort of directing kindness towards people, and people's the compassion hormone rose within them. Their blood pressure dropped, their heart rate changed. Incredible. So if you enjoyed that, give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever you want, just to make sure that everyone's still in the room and ready to go. Moving into this session 3, where we do a little bit of a recap on sort of how the last 5 days have gone, and moving into this idea of the unknown people, compassion for the unknown. So, thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. Wonderful that you enjoyed it. Thank you for your comments as well. It's much appreciated. So, reflecting back on your week, how have you been? How much of your time did you invest into this beautiful practice this week? There's this definitely a much needed practice. Thank you to Carrie. It's much appreciated. And thanks for joining in as well. And if we remember, we sort of talked about this parrot and the owl. How was your parrot this week? Right? Did you bring that metaphor to life? Did you also manage to maybe water your compassion seeds over the last few days rather than that of the criticism seed? It's interesting being able to step out of the parrot and into our wise owl, which, come to think of it, it's actually really the true metaphor of meditation. Because we can get so lost in the chatter of our parrot, this squawk. It keeps us hidden. It keeps us in comparison. It keeps us in judgment and keeps us in criticism as well. And all we need to do is begin to notice it and really soften its relevance. That, like the old teaching of the 2 arrows, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this already, that we can recognize that the first arrow is unavoidable. It's the second arrow that really causes us the suffering. The first one hurts like hell, but it's the second suffering that really prolongs that pain, or what we call the suffering of suffering. Well, that's at least how I was taught, this idea of the invasive suffering. And that leads to the quote in your workbook, that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, and compassion is the key. And, it is the glue that binds us, really. It is sort of, we begin to sort of reflect on life in that way. But I'd love your thoughts on this, the idea of the 2 arrows and the quote, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, and compassion is the key. Just throw some thoughts up in the chat box. What's your thoughts? Do you have any questions? Does that idea make sense? This idea of the 2 arrows, that the first one is unavoidable, that you can't get out of the first. I always think of that Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura, but it's that sort of idea. The first one is unavoidable. It's in the leg, but it's this chatter that goes on and on and on and on and on for a lot longer than what is probably required, that the suffering is optional. How much we suffer in pain is absolutely optional. And also, I'd love to know, obviously, the wisdom this week. What if you gave yourself a score out of 10, like we did in the last session? How did you get on, and why? And remember, when we're thinking about this, bringing it from the heart and being honest. You're very welcome, Chrissy, and thank you so much for joining in. So, when we think about sort of how we did, how has this week been? Have you been able to really give give it much focus, give it much attention? Have you brought the loved ones to life and collaborated with yourself and them in terms of bringing this warmth, this kindness, the wonderfulness of this practice to life? And so whilst you're putting your thoughts up just on what you think about the 2 arrows and its relevance, and maybe a little bit about your week, only if you want to, I just want to put a little talk together as I do, because there's often a bit of a lag there. So anyway, a little versey thing. So the pandemic in reality, it's not in its entirety the virus. It is the uncertainty. There is no path to healing or path to safety at the moment. There's this real impact. We're constantly in threat, which we just don't see, because right now we are constantly putting ourselves in threat with no path to safety. We seem to sort of be lying in wait, and the news and the media implicates this, which is why compassion is so important right now. Now, the Dalai Lama said we need an evolution of the heart, and in almost the same breath says compassion is the radicalism of our time. Now, this shows the uphill task at hand that we have in development of our truth. And I say our truth as we are born into this world compassionate, loving creatures. This is the science. And this is the science coming from the Mind and Life Institute. There's a lot of people investing into this institute that's research-based with Professor Richie Davidson, among many others, that we're born into this world with this big old compassionate heart. And when the Dalai Lama says that this is a radicalism of our time, it's because he knows that this is what is needed as one human species to exist in harmony, and that it can truly be our reality if we just dedicate our time to doing it, or bring some of the energy we waste on other things into harnessing compassion as a community. Our problem is that we sort of expect something instant, feeling sort of a requirement for an instant hit of something. And if we don't get it, then we don't think that what we're doing is working, and we quickly move on to something else. We're no longer the human being, we're the human stimulated, needing something to remind us on how to be human, I guess. And compassion is the tough road, and which is why many don't really try it. They want it. They talk about it and they'll post about compassion, but they don't do it. It means being honest with ourselves, learning how to love and live and connect, especially at the moment when we need the love and connection the most. There is so much beauty out there, and our minds tend to be fixed on what's wrong rather than what's right. Although I'm sure you're feeling it, this is beginning to change, and this is why I'm so stoked to have at least all of you on exploring compassion in this way, a radicalism of our time. We are the pioneers of generations of confusion, fragmentation, and exclusion. Our generation can be defined not so much by the personality traits, the boomers, the X, Y, Zs, millennials, whatever they are. We can be the generation that awoke. And we have everything within us to realize it. Like every acorn has the opportunity to become the oak. All it needs is the right ingredients, the right elements to come together. Without doubt, it will grow up to be exactly that. It was Thich Nhat Hanh that has that beautiful teachings on interdependence, which is really what our focus is today. That when all the elements come together to create life as we know it, and if we just take the time to look into things, even just the inanimate oak becomes an opportunity for practice, an opportunity to see the beauty. It's the water and the earth, the wind and sunshine and all of these things that we can look beyond the concept of oak and see that it had everything there right at the start, aided in its fruition. That it is there to plant seeds for future generations, giving them, hopefully, the opportunity to be that too. And we are the same. If we nourish ourselves with the right elements, our fruition is not just old age and death. It is the ability to move beyond just struggling through our life. If we just took the time every day to rediscover the truth of who we are. You know, if we taught every child how to meditate, this is the Dalai Lama thingy. You know, he said, if we taught every child how to meditate, war and hatred would be extinguished within one generation. You know, and he is speaking with the utmost honesty, the utmost belief that if we could teach our children to love, to meditate, we could be role models for them, to see all as equals, that their extraordinariness is the gift for the world, and not just for themselves. What a world we could live in. Which is why our role is so important. This ripple, you are us, ripples globally, meeting up with all these other ripples, setting benchmarks for our children and their children as how we, as one human species, should exist in a planet full of beauty, connectivity, and life. That the radicalism is happening right now with you, even just being on a simple course like this, taking time out of your busy life to explore the interdependence of our reality, to shift out of my busy world and into the radicalism of our time, which is really what the world needs right now. Others learning the path of the spiritual warrior to help shine the way for all others that we illuminate up against, I suppose, if that makes sense. That love and compassion can be a reality, our reality together. And this starts right now with us, with you, investing and harnessing this energy, your time, into teaching your kids, your friends, your enemies, how we come together united. And compassion is the glue that binds us. Yeah, I guess it sounds a little bit hobbity, the one ring to bind us, but it is the glue, the connection to life that we all have. And that, as the teaching went, where the Buddha lifted the lotus up above his head, it wasn't just the realization of the flower and the awakening. It was a recognition that it was the mud, the suffering, that helped in showing and paving the way for the awakening. That the interbeing is that we cannot have one without the other. Which is another tool for our toolbox, that we tend to grow most out of the things that cause us suffering. When we reflect back on our life, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of our struggles that we learn from and grow for. But I suppose actually I'm going into next week's session. I just need to stop digressing down there. But anyway, we learn so much from the attention we give to those that play pivotal roles in our lives, and never really pay much attention to the things around us, the people, the objects that also keep us functioning and helpful, I guess. So inadvertently, we these people, they don't really know that they're helping us, but their kindness has aided us so much in our life. But before we move a little bit more into that, what I want to do is just take a little compassionate pause, okay? So wherever you are, we're just going to take just a moment's break, okay? And I'm just going to guide you through, very similar to what that 2-minute practice is, the one on the link. So for you that are doing it regularly, awesome. But if not, it's a lovely little break. It's only going to take 2 minutes. And so all I want you to do, wherever you are, you're very welcome to start with hand on heart, although there's no requirement to. And you can do it with your eyes open or closed. Again, either it won't make any difference. But what I want you to do is we breathe in, this next breath in, just a normal deep breath. But as we breathe out, we really extend the out breath as long as we can. So really extend out as long as we can, long and slow. And we're going to do this 3 times. So we're going to breathe in again, breathing in, deep breath, and then really extending it, trying to make it almost twice as long as the in-breath, just almost squeezing the stomach and getting all of that stale air up and out of us. And then breathing in again, breathing in, nice big deep breath, and then really extend the out breath as long as we can. Almost just letting go of everything. Just let it all go. And then one more big deep breath in. And as we take this big deep breath in, just relaxing for a few moments. And then in our own thoughts, just saying, I am enough. And then in your own time, just opening your eyes and just taking a few moments of rest. Connecting with that big old heart in the middle of your chest. Sense of warmth and connection that's there. All right. So do that as often as you can. There's a link to it if you want that. I'll include it on the email. So this week we're remembering those people that are unknown to us and bringing a bit of compassion and kindness into our life and letting this flourish. So what I want you to do right now, wherever you are, I just want you to use your phone. And I want you to take a picture of yourself. And I want you to put that picture on social media or wherever it is. Well, you don't have to. Send it to me on email or whatever it is. Okay, but I want you to take a picture of yourself. Now, there's no requirement to do this, but there's a reason why I'm asking you to do it, okay? So taking a picture, I guess a little bit selfishly, it's always weird to sort of looking at your own picture the whole time, so it's nice to see that there are other people around and involved in our life, or involved in the course. But I just want to see, just take a picture of yourself and put it on social media. Now, there's 2 reasons why I'm asking you to do this, really. And like I said before, there is that selfish side of me that just wants to see you and say hello. But also, there is an important point to this. Now, this phone that we have, these tools that we have, we just sort of use them, right? We just sort of expect them to work. We just sort of expect them to turn on. We don't really give much thought to where they've come from. And so, if you think about it, there's been a hell of a lot of people that have come together to produce this thing for us to use, right? Now, I wanted to as you're doing a few things, just a little talk on, I guess, this idea of interdependence and the role in its compassionate practices. Because it's often when we stop seeing ourselves as whole and complete, is when we see ourselves as when we're not seeing ourselves as whole and complete. We are seeing ourselves more as being independent and separate. When we feel most alone and most down and most anxious and most confused is those times when we've sort of isolated ourselves. It is the anxiety, this depressed feeling that begins to convince you that it is better being that way. It's easier isolating ourselves, lying to ourselves, telling ourselves that we're not worthy, that we are alone. And what this does, it keeps us further away from really what we need, and that is the intimacy of close family and friends and the community as a whole. We have these emotional needs that need to be met, and recognizing that isolation isn't the key. Now, you may not notice it in yourself. Maybe it's in others or friends or colleagues, whatever it is. But this is an opportunity to practice compassion, getting in touch and softening that isolation for them. And if it is you that's struggling, if it's you that's seeing itself as separate and dependent, this is when communication and contact is vital to you, to us, to our species. We need it, and the science supports it. The people that live longest have healthy and supportive relationships. It doesn't mean it needs to be a partner. It can be family and children, whatever it is. These supportive relationships are good for the mind, the body, and the soul. And it also releases all of these wonderful hormones into our system, which sort of counteracts our response to stress. Depending on, it doesn't matter how many you have, the only thing it depends on is that you have these relationships in your life. And so it's incredibly important to realize that when we start getting anxious, we start sort of feeling separate, isolating ourselves, feeling independent, that we need to branch out and begin to recognize that there is a community of people that will not only help you in lifting your own spirits, but actually, as a human species, we need it. We crave it. We are socially connected creatures, and we absolutely thrive on it. Okay? Yeah, thank you, Carrie. Isn't it? It's 100% the truth, and the science supports it as well. I'm just not making this stuff up. I'm not going, oh, look, Dan said it, so therefore it's true. Have a look out there. There's some incredible research that's coming off supporting this idea of easing our stress response, and being around people that love us is incredibly important. So coming back to the phones. Now, these things that we have, these incredible tools. If you think about the journey that this one tool has been on, this one phone, or your phone, or this phone, how many people has it touched to get to you and the access that it needs, from digging up the raw materials to manufacturing and producing it, to the system software people, the marketing, the packaging, the sales team, the delivery team, the aftercare support team. And this is just the phone. If we think about social media, how easy is it just to take a quick picture, put it on, put your stuff on, and when it doesn't work, we get frustrated. We kind of think, why is it not working? Have I said something to someone and I've upset them? And someone's dogged me in. So when we think about social media, we don't think we think if we click an app, we're good to go and it's up and functioning. Yeah. When in reality, there are thousands of people that have been working behind the scenes to put this thing together, from the software people to the marketing people to the internet connectivity people to the phone companies. Many, many more people work every day just to keep us connected, keep us functioning. It is incredible if you think about it. These people wake up early in the morning, late at night. They go out and go into our shops. They fill our shops with food. And all the people driving the big trucks, getting our food from one place to the next in ferries, working crazy hours. They work through the night. People making sure our roads are safe. Police, nurses in hospitals, the list can go on and on. People in mines getting the coal and the petrol up. These incredibly tough places. The people in the armed forces, people working in petrol stations all night, the teachers, doctors, the list could go on and on. And all of these people, they seek happiness and contentment just like you. Whilst they probably don't wake up and think, I tell you what, I'm going to make Dan's day today. He's going to come and he's going to fill up his car and he's going to recognize just how long it's taken to get the petrol from Saudi Arabia or wherever it is over through thousands of people to get into the petrol station for me to just pull a nozzle up and chuck it in the car and fill it up and off I go. But it's about bringing some of this awareness, bringing some of this attention into the inanimate, bringing some awe into life and recognizing that beyond the phone, there is so much a part of it. Like this has got a cover and glass. We call it a phone, but in reality, it's much more than that. It is a way of accessing my friends. It's a connectivity device. It's made of glass and copper and gold and unobtainium and all the other stuff that goes into it. I just made that word up. No, actually, I think I got it from Avatar. Apologies, Avatar. But when we see it as a phone, this one dependent phone, independent, on its own, it's just a phone. But reality, it is made up of thousands of elements with thousands of people all coming together to get this to you. And this is the role that interdependence plays. And like ourselves, we call it, this is my body. But in reality, we're made of fingers and arms. And then if we go, well, okay, so I've got an arm. Is it an arm? Not really. It's an upper arm, a lower arm, a hand and fingers. And then if I look at a finger, it's not really a finger. It's made up of a knuckle, a nail. It's the small one, bones, muscles. If we look at a muscle, it's not really. And so we begin to realize, how intrinsically linked this incredible environment that we have is. And digressing, apologies, coming back to the wonderful people that we don't know. The unknown. These people, they get up in the morning. They do all this wonderful stuff for us inadvertently. They don't mean to, probably most of the time. But we benefit from it. And it's bringing some compassion to these wonderful people that work tirelessly, keeping our lives functioning. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. I hope it's a good thing. I hope you're enjoying it. Apologies. So this next 4 days, it's about, or 5 days, looking at your workbook, there's not much to go through, but I want one day, each day, for you to bring to life this inanimate and bring some awe into it, looking at bringing some attention to the people that may have been involved in getting these objects to you, these incredible, useful tools that we have, and bringing some reflection just once a day. Even a piece of fruit. I love when I do my courses, we do a blueberry thing where we get the blueberry and we look at what farm it came from and how old the farm is and the distance from that farm to here to get the blueberry and all the people on the process along the way just to bring this one blueberry that may have been part of a seed that was planted many years ago to manifest and be in your hand for you to enjoy it right now. And it's incredible when we can just take some time out of our lives to bring some awe, to bring some recognition of this interrelated, interdependence, interconnective life that we live, the unknown world that we spend so much time in, the I world, the me world. We don't spend much time in the we world. And that's not Scottish. I suppose it is a smaller world, a small world. Anyway, a bit of a pun in there. Apologies. Sounds a bit weird laughing at your own jokes, though, especially when you're looking at yourself laughing at your own jokes. But, we've benefited from so much from these people's lives and their effort and time. It doesn't matter if they had us in mind in any way. The key point is that all their hard work has helped us to live and to thrive. And when we do these practices, not getting carried away too much by any guilt or lack of worth, it's about recognizing how intricately interdependent we are together as one global community. So what we're trying to do is just open our heart with affection and compassion, to recognize that there are wonderful people out there that deserve happiness just as much as all of us do. And we may not know them in any way, but they affect our lives in a wonderfully positive way. And so all we're trying to do is feel that kindness and dedicate these next 5 days to these unknown people out there, so that all of their wonderful work doesn't go unnoticed. So like normal, we're going to finish with a little meditation. I hope that's okay. Now, this is very similar. It's going to be a bit shorter than the practice that we did online, or the practice that's going to be via the link on the workbook, but also I'll send it to you on email. Very similar. We're just going to bring some kindness in and share it to these wonderful people. Okay? So wherever you are, I want you just to get yourself comfortable again. The practice will take about 10 minutes, 11 minutes, maybe a bit longer. Okay? But get yourself comfortable. And just as we did before, I want you just to bring some attention into the body. Whenever you're ready, just bringing some attention into the body. Okay? And by that, I mean just sort of as you bring your attention in, you're just getting a sense of being here, sitting, lying down, feeling into this life. All these things can only be experienced in this moment. And as we bring some attention into these physical sensations, feeling as we're sitting, shuffling around and getting ourselves more comfortable if we need to. Feel into the body. And then guide some of that attention onto the movement of our breath. And just letting this breath move in and out of our body, not trying to control or change it. We're just watching the movement, watching it flow, watching it rise and fall. And then what I want you to do, I just want you to bring your attention just to one key point within the breath. So maybe it's down in the belly. Maybe it's on the tip of the nose. Maybe it's in the back of the throat or the lips, wherever it is. But just bringing some gentle attention just to one area, anywhere within that whole movement of breath. And just as we've practiced so many times, just letting distractions come and go throughout this practice. Okay? And letting the breath be our anchor, letting the breath be the grounding as we get distracted, or maybe we feel a sense of emotion that's there, and we just gently guide our attention back onto the movement and to the flow of this breath that we have. It's a wonderful tool. Not only does it allow us to center, but it's so powerful in easing our stress response system, So many wonderful breathing practices out there showing you just the power of this body that we have when we begin to use it in the right way. This incredibly intuitive tool. If we use breath in the right way and then use contemplative practices as part of that process, bring the mind into calmness, bring it down, calm it down, and then use all the guidance from some wonderful teachers about how to explore your emotions, how to explore the frustrations, how do you explore these things that we often turn away from with this softer, calmer mind. What a wonderful gift for the world we would be if we all learned how to be with these disturbances, these disruptions, in a much more centered and grounded way. And we can do that simply just by watching our breath and letting our mind relax. In that process of letting, it's not about noticing that it's crazy busy at the moment or it's not busy. You're just letting the mind be and noticing the breath. And so we're just watching this movement, watching the flow. I'm just going to go quiet just for a minute. I just want you just to relax and watch the flow. And let the distractions happen. Let them come and go. And that's a big part of the practice, is being distracted, recognizing the distraction and being softer to it, more gentle, more calmer. Now, from this softer place, I just want you to turn some of this attention towards these people that we don't really know. Now, maybe your mind creates these faces or images or whatever it is, but these people that transport our food, that work throughout the night, work on our roads, keeping us functional. All the people working in incredibly dangerous places, front lines, oil refineries, coal mines, keeping us safe and functioning, putting their own lives at risk, spending time away from their families to allow you to enjoy your life. All these people in petrol stations, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, all these people that help us, all these people seek happiness and contentment just like we do. Our lives are so interdependent. Without the kindness, without the compassion from these people, we wouldn't survive. So just bringing some attention to all these people who you probably have never met or may never meet. But we've also never really took the time to devote our life reflecting on how important these people are to us. They work in our supermarkets, they work in farms, they fly our planes, they drive our buses, they build our homes, they keep the electricity on. We've benefited so much from them in our lives. Their effort, their time. And it doesn't matter if they didn't have us in mind. The key point is that all of their hard work has helped us to thrive, to live, and survive, connect, grow, understand, learn. Now, try not to get carried away. Often, sometimes when we do this practice, we can feel a sense of guilt or a lack of self-worth because maybe we haven't devoted some of this time. But this practice of compassion is not about feeling lack for you. It is about them and bringing some of that gratitude, bringing some of that compassion to these wonderful people. Can we open our heart with affection and compassion for these people who want happiness just like you? And just because we don't know them doesn't mean that they don't matter. So please feel their kindness. And to finish, we're just going to feel into this kindness. So I want you to feel into this kindness without distraction. Just feel into the heart, feel their warmth, feel their compassion, their kindness. And then in your own time, just allowing your eyes to open. And as you're opening your eyes, again, just bringing a sense of being aware of you sat here. All right. So I hope you've enjoyed the session today. Thank you so much for sticking on for the whole hour. For the rest of you that's left, it's much appreciated. It's wonderful just to have some people that are interested in it, in all honesty. And it's such a gift to society, this compassion. It's why the Dalai Lama, he preaches it every day. And I don't like saying preach like as if he's standing in some sort of, whatever they call, pulpits, whatever they call, preaching at people. All he wants is just to see us connect and be happy, you know. So, like I said, this week is just about exploring the inanimate and bringing some life to it, some awe, some connections, this recognition of these wonderful people that play such a role in our lives. Now, if you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to like it, share the video about if you can do, get it in front of the right people. You know, there are some people out there that really need compassion right now, and I think that they don't understand it. So thank you so much. I'm here to help in any way. I've been receiving your emails. Thank you so much. And I hope you've enjoyed my replies back to you. But I'm here to help. Have an amazing rest of your day. Wherever you are, thank you so much. And I'll see you again in the next 4 days, I think 5 days. Much love and thank you.